Hello, this is Paul Goldberg of the Goldberg Clinic in Kennesaw, Georgia. Today we are here with Mrs. Allison Doak and her son Graham Doak. Graham has been coming to our clinic for just about a year now, and he came initially with a diagnosis, a medical diagnosis that has become increasingly common, although it was rarely, if ever, heard about just a short time ago. It's only been the past few years that we've started to see cases that are now taking on this new name of Eosinophilic Esophagitis, or Eosinophilic Gastritis, or Eosinophilic Colitis, depending upon where the symptoms are. And eosinophils are a type of white blood cell that proliferate themselves generally when the body is allergic or sensitive to some type of foreign material, whether it be a food material or a pollen material, or sometimes just not knowing why at all, but the body is overreactive. And this is something that's been increasingly seen in our population, that more and more kids, who later turn into more and more adults, are developing excessive allergic responses, such that asthma and allergies in children have increased. They've actually tripled just over the past 20 years. So let's talk to Mrs. Doak and Graham for just a moment. Well, if Graham's going to talk to me. Let's talk to Mrs. Doak. Mrs. Doak, Allison, when you first came here, what was the condition of Graham? What had he been diagnosed with, and what were they telling you to do?
Graham started having symptoms in August of 2012, and he had severe stomach pain and severe heartburn. We ended up in the hospital multiple times over the course of 4 months. It wasn't until the end of October when they diagnosed him, and in that.
And where was he diagnosed at?
He was diagnosed down at Emory.
Okay.
By a gastroenterologist down there, and then repeatedly was hospitalized.
And he was diagnosed with?
Eosinophilic esophagitis and gastritis.
Okay. And what were the symptoms that Graham was having at the time?
He had severe heartburn and severe stomachache that lasted 24 hours a day for weeks and
so
weeks.
Graham was how old at that time?
He was 8.
8 years old. Okay.
And no medication helped the pain.
What kind of drugs did they drug Graham with?
He was on multiple antacids, stomach medicines. He was taking.
Do you remember the names of some of the antacids he was given?
Omeprazole. He was taking Prevacid. They then put him on Pulmicort, which was it's a steroid, a corticosteroid that we mixed with 5 packets of Splenda twice a day, once in the morning and once at night, for him to swallow, so it would decrease the amount of eosinophils and the heartburn in the esophagus.
What did they tell you was the actual cause of Graham's problems? And Graham was in a lot of discomfort. Do you remember being in a lot of discomfort back then, Graham?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did they tell you was the actual cause of all these symptoms and problems that Graham was experiencing?
I don't think they truly know. They do know that it's driven by allergies. More specifically food allergies. We did the testing through a doctor who was trained at Cincinnati in this particular disease.
Cincinnati
Children's Hospital.
Yes.
On this particular disease, and he was an allergist, and he did the skin prick test and the patch test, the delayed reaction, and only 2 food allergies came up, a mild allergy to peanuts and a mild allergy to peas. He told us then in December, pardon me, of that year, that Graham would always have a stomachache, that the disease was driven more by an autoimmune response than it was by allergies.
Okay.
And that was at the point when we decided to come to you.
And indeed, as I tell my classes and my patients, I believe that allergy and autoimmunity are pretty much 2 sides of the same coin. And this is just yet another example of it. And you have known other children who also have this problem?
Yes.
And how did you find out other children had the problem?
There's several support groups, either through Facebook and through the gastroenterologist who we see. There's a group in Georgia that several of the families are part of.
So Graham was taken to his pediatrician?
Gastroenterologist, who else did we see? Allergists.
Okay, and what did they want to do, any procedures on Graham?
We did endoscopies and colonoscopies to...
So that they took an endoscope and they took it from the top on down and from the bottom on up?
Right.
Okay.
To count the number of eosinophils. First it was looking for a diagnosis, and then at the same time they did biopsies to count the eosinophils.
Now these are very invasive procedures. They're not necessarily comfortable. They require anesthetic. And what did they tell you, and what was the outcome of those in terms of actually benefiting Graham's health?
As far as benefiting their health, I think the idea was just to see the progress of using the steroids, to see if the steroids were actually working. Mm-hmm. Often what they do is they take these children off food and put them on an elemental diet.
Right.
And then they will wait 6 weeks and rescope, or do another endoscopy to see if the eosinophils have diminished.
So the long-term medical treatment for this is steroids, and in Graham's case also, which I think is not a common use of antacid preparations.
Yes.
Okay.
And food elimination.
And food elimination. Did they caution you on the side effects of taking antacids?
No.
No. Did they caution you on the side effects of taking, for a young man like Graham, to take steroids?
No.
No. Okay. Now I know you're a very good mother and also a very smart lady, because you stay well educated on these topics. What do you know at this point, or what were your concerns about giving him those antacids and steroids?
I was very, very concerned about putting an 8-year-old on a daily steroid use. We were desperate to control the symptoms, and at some point we did have to put him on prednisone, a daily use of prednisone, just because they had hospitalized him and put him on morphine to control the pain. And
he was on morphine also?
He was on morphine.
Okay.
We had put him on morphine every time we'd hospitalized him.
Okay.
That's only temporary, and because we weren't able to control the inflammation or the pain, we had to resort to the steroids. Well, the steroids worked, but it was not a path that we were going to go down. I knew that long-term...
So he was taking morphine during hospitalizations, he was on steroids, he was on antacids, and the question I have again is, did they tell you at any point that this will all make Graham a healthier kid and be good for his health?
No.
No. Okay. All right, then
the outlook for the disease was not very good. I mean, we were told if we take him off all top 8 allergies, we would probably have the best success. But knowing some of the people in the support group, the parents that had done that, some of these children have absolutely no safe foods, even removing them from the top 8 allergies.
And it's been our experience at the Goldberg Clinic that even with these children or with adults who have multiple allergies, if you remove the things they're allergic to, you will oftentimes have a improvement, but the improvement will be temporary, because the problem that the child or the adult has is still there, and they simply will then over time develop new allergies.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So you brought him to our clinic, the Goldberg Clinic here, and what has been your experience here?
It has been a life-changing experience for Graham and for all of us, and we were really at our wits' end and didn't know what we were going to do. I had, done a lot of reading and research looking into taking him somewhere else, to different cities that were treating this, but I wanted to try a more natural approach.
Did we at any time, or did I at any time, or Dr. Tenner at any time tell you that we were going to treat his eosinophilic esophagitis?
No. The understanding from my perspective was always that we were moving in a path towards good health, and that keeping him and moving in that path toward good health, that we would be able to control the disease better that way.
Now, how many drugs was Graham on approximately when he came to our clinic?
It's hard to say.
Approximately?
5.
At least 5?
At least 5.
At least 5. How many drugs does Graham take now?
0.
0, okay. And he's been off drugs for how long?
The last drug we took him off of was Neurontin, and that was in March of last year.
That was all the way in March of last year. What improvements have you seen? He's off drugs, which of course is a very good thing. And what improvements have you seen in his health during that time?
He has more energy. He is virtually pain-free and drug-free.
Okay.
He's back to 99% of the time being healthy. Every once in a while we will have a reaction, but that's on maybe our own doing. Maybe he'll eat something that he's not supposed to eat, or he's reacting maybe just to the environment in general, but 99% of the time he's a well kid. He's playing outside with his friends, he's participating in activities, he's doing great. So.
And what we needed to do was to come up with an individualized plan for Graham, and as I explained to Mrs. Doak, we don't have a simple program for everybody that has eosinophilic gastritis or esophagitis, because we do not view this as the cause of the problem. These eosinophils are there for different reasons in different people, and we have to identify why the person is developing all these eosinophils and then develop a plan to promote the person's general good health. Graham, over the time you've been coming here, have you been feeling better?
Yes.
Do you remember what it was like when you were real sick?
Mm-hmm.
How much fun was that?
No.
It was not very much fun. What grade are you in now, Graham?
Fourth.
4th grade. Did I ask you if you had a girlfriend yet? We were just talking about that today. Graham says he doesn't have a girlfriend yet, but the girls like him. We can edit that part out if you want, by the way. Well, thank you, Graham, and thank you particularly Mrs. Doak. And I just want to say that Mrs. Doak, Allison has been, we have many people come here that are excellent mothers, but Allison has been extraordinary in not just helping her son, but taking it upon herself to study this problem, to look both inside the box and outside the box, keeping an open mind, and being a real advocate for her son. She questioned her doctors, and as she should. She questioned me, as she should, and she has been a real steward over Graham's care. And we give her an A+ for her maternal skills, and any child would be lucky to have her as a mother. So thank you both very much.
Thank you. Thank you.